I seen the press conference, a little bit of the press conference, um, between Norman and Devin Haney, Brian Norman Jr., Devin Haney. Also seen some of the Yarde and Benavidez press conference. Do a final thought. Feel like I know everybody made the weight. The weights came out like late Friday, Thursday night. Not per sure what time the card come out. We'll probably say the main event come on around 5-ish. Don't quote me on that. But the final thoughts. I mean, it's a big card. That the presentation that used to be with old boxing, even going back to like the Thriller in Manila and some of those, or the Rumble in the Jungle is what I was referring to. Some of them old feel of boxing. You don't get those big feels, them big feels when them feels you for big fights. In Riyadh, it's kind of hard to to really get the juices flowing in America. It was supposed to be for the frisky, it turned into pay-per-view. I explained the only way they can make money is on pay-per-view. That's why they took it to pay-per-view. But that big fight feel seemed gone. It felt like it died. It felt like it died with HBO. Like just the whole presentation and, even the reality shows that was attached. I feel like it died with HBO. But, yeah, it got a nice feel to it for it to be one of the last major cards of the year. I think the last major one was Bud and Canelo. And this one didn't really, I guess if you want to categorize Roach and Isaac Cruz. Yeah, it's been a real light year for the sport of boxing. I think the reason, it's been light, I think it's a transition. Paramount got rid of PBC and Prime has been taken over. And then outside of that, ESPN divested from Top Rank. I mean, everybody divested out of boxing. Paramount is investing into Zuffa boxing. But it's not been a real great year. I mean, we used to have phenomenal years in boxing. And it's, now it's kind of like boxing is like where PBC was when they didn't have enough TV time, when they kind of lost all the networks and was down to Showtime where they stacking cards. Too far in between, to be honest with you. Just boxing has just not had the presence that it once had. So this is a big card, for them. And, looking at Norman and Haney easily can be the main event on paper. Devin seemed to have some nervous energy in some of those face-offs. Norman seemed to be cool, calm, and collected. Seemed to just be a lot of nervous energy from Dev. They could be nervous for the fight. But, he got a lot to prove. Everybody want to see him lose. That's what it boiled down to. Norman is going to accumulate some fake fans, but, as soon as he start pressing Ryan Garcia or pressing Mario Barrios or Virgil Ortiz, he going to find out that those are not his real fans, if you catch my drift. But, I mean, I posed some questions. He's never been 12. And even when he fought, one time he went 10 with Santiano. He went 10 with somebody else. But when he went 10 with Santiano, whatever his name is, Giovanni, whatever, a lot of times his back was on the ropes towards the end of that fight. And that could have been because he was in control. So, he ain't been 12. It's a lot of questions being asked about, Devin chin. I mean, think about it. Amir Khan was a world champion and people thought his chin was trash. Amir Khan had consistently, he beat punchers with a trash chin, whether it was Marcos Madonna, he beat, I mean, I really can't think. He beat guys like Zab. He beat punchers, and he lost to him too. So, but there's questions about Brian Norman. Can he handle a boxer? I mean, he was almost cut from Top Rank. You know, he struggled with boxers. You know, he struggled with you know, he ain't been 12. So there's some questions to be asked on both sides. You know, for Devin, you know, for the most part, you know, can he take a punch? Can he take the physicality? It's just not the punch. Everybody worry about the punch, the strength, being pushed around. You know, Norman can say that he's athletic and all that. Of course, you look athletic versus a Mexican, but we gonna see. They can talk about we worked on the foot speed, and it's really the question of the corner too. The father, like I said before, you know, in what trenches had the father been in? You know what I'm saying? Like, what adversity have they really faced in these type of fights? This is just a lot of questions to be asked about the fight. Will the father keep his composure? You know, do they got a great game plan? The father was a pro boxer. You know, don't mean he a pro teacher. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? We know what Bill, Devin, Mickey Bay been in and out the corner before. They use teacher. They use a revolving door of coaches, just like Jesse Vargas. Some people say Bill need to get out the way. You know, this is how they run things. So I picked Norman in 10. I just been like, you know, it's hard to unsee what you've seen with Dad from Ryan, and then he fought like that versus Joseph Diaz. It just seemed like he might have one foot in the door and one foot out the door, you know, but a lot of times when you write these fighters off, you know, if they worth anything, their character show in the next fight. It shows in the next fight. But you can't fight like you scared to lose like he did with Jose Ramirez. You can't fight that way. You can't fight like you scared to lose. But the whole card was pretty trash anyway. T.O.'s the only one that signed, Teofimo Lopez. But yeah, you know, it's a good fight on paper. And then you got Yarde and Benavidez. I think that's the surefire shootout. Benavidez is, you know, talented, good hand speed, get by off being so much bigger and stronger than his opponents. I don't think he outskilled his opponents. Is he bigger, stronger, more conditioned than them? So I think for the first time, he might be fighting a guy that can punch, that can match his physicality, and maybe not can match his conditioning, his magical conditioning. But in the first 6 rounds of this fight, it'd be interesting. It'd be very, very interesting. So Yarde is compact, Yarde is strong, Yarde is fast, Yarde can punch. He been in there with some of the best. I mean, better BF. People think he the best in the division. So, and, you know, I think it'd be a great firefight while it lasts. You know, when I see Benavidez, I'm going to see somebody that can punch at the 75 division, but he understood he's never been a puncher. You know, he's been an accumulation guy. You know, I think he get hit when he want to get hit and don't get hit when he don't want to get hit. So it's be an interesting fight. I pick Yarde. I think Yarde to win, you know, early in the championship rounds and stop him. Like I said before, I just feel like Benavidez just get by off, you know, he make a lot of mistakes and he get by with the mistakes. He's just bigger than everybody else, whether it's Plant, whether it's Porky Medina, whether he's more fresher than Anthony Durrell, you know, whoever it may be, he just has a physical size advantage. And I think that gap is starting to close when you go up in this division. He used to be like 300-400 pounds or something like that. So you kind of tell he's a bigger guy, you know, blowing up and in between fights and cutting the weight is going to catch up to him, especially as he marches towards 30. So at any point, any punch can clip him. I'm telling you, all that putting that weight on and then taking it off for training camp. When you start getting too close to dirty 30, you know, that's when you start to see the effects of that. And also you get a little breathing room going about 7 pounds up, whatever the fuck. Yeah, 7 pounds up. He get a little breathing room there, but that constant fluctuation of the body, that's not good on the body. So at some point, you know, somebody hit him the right way or his body don't respond the right way from the crazy cuts and putting the weight on in between and the crazy cuts. At some point, that catches up with you as well, too. So it's one of those fights where I think, you know, early on, I would encourage him to box. Let Yarde gas around the 6th, 7th round, then I turn it on and I try to drown Yarde in the later rounds. But if he come out looking for a shootout, he gives Yarde a great opportunity to send his wig to the upper room. So if he come out looking to shoot it out, Yarde chances increase expeditiously, or, not expeditiously, but substantially they increase. If he box, stay behind the jab, first few rounds, set traps, and then around the 6th, 7th round, start to drown Anthony Yarde, he have more success. But, Mexicans fight with their emotions on their sleeve, on their arms. So we'll see how it goes, man. I appreciate y'all. Hit the link in the description. Follow me on Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Amazon, the whole nine. Appreciate y'all. Peace.